Good morning,
Good morning.
Tucson, or afternoon, actually.
It is afternoon.
That's
for the
weird.
first time.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Tucson, and welcome to Coffee with ThreeCo, a podcast that brings the community together around the stories of Tucson's most interesting people and their local businesses. I'm Jermaine, the founder of Empyrean Partners, a small business support organization that believes anyone can monetize their passion.
Oh, that was it?
That's all.
I thought we did last week. We did
So
more.
when we move into the where we are portion,
Okay.
I'll throw it out there.
Okay. Well,
I think
all right.
it's a better place.
Okay, I wasn't prepared, but I mean, hello, and I am Kelsey Farley, and we were talking about this morning, CEO of kelseyfarley.com. See how I put that in there.
Wow, nice.
And if you are a local business in the Tucson area looking to get more exposure on social media, I would love to help you out. I am a mom of 2 elementary school age kiddos, and we love finding new places around the Tucson area to take our family, and I love putting more eyes on businesses as well through my blog, through just about anything. So if you are interested in that, head over to kelseyfarley.com for more information. And today we are accompanied by Mike Gullin. Look at me, look how I did. And he is with True Fan Marketing.
Yes.
And Mike, go ahead and tell us a little bit about you and True Fan Marketing.
So about me, I'm born and raised in Tucson. Also spent some time in Phoenix, but true and blue Tucsonan, and my company is True Fan Marketing, very much aligned with Jermaine here, where my goal is to, from your standpoint, what I believe you want to help empower people, and my goal is to also empower people, but it's also once they have the concept in place, to put the systems or to help them, find the people that are going to want their product or service, whether it's local, whether it's beyond that. And so, True Fan Marketing. It's actually, the name is based off a very popular blog post by Kevin Kelly called 1,000 True Fans. And the thesis of that that blog post is that, with technology and the ability to scale, and no matter what your passion is, that there's probably an audience out there. And if you can find 1,000 people that are diehard true fans, love your work, for me, like, I'm a big fan of, like, for video production, like Parker Walbeck, full-time filmmaker. I'm the kind of guy that every time there's a video posted, I'm right there. I follow his recommendations, and if you can find 1,000 people that are willing to pay you $100 a year for your services, which is pretty manageable, then you can make a living. Especially here, like if you can make 6 figures living here, you're doing well. So that's kind of the basis of what I started with my company, where whatever it is you want, there is an audience for it, and my job is to help connect people with their audience and to help them do what they love and make a living at it.
And what was the name of that author?
Kevin Kelly.
Kelly, okay.
He was the editor-in-chief, I believe, of Wired magazine.
Yes.
If he still might still be, but very innovative guy.
Perfect.
It's definitely worth a read.
Beautiful, awesome. Well, we're very excited to have you here. And where are we? We are at Big Heart Coffee.
Yes.
We are at Big Heart Coffee off of East 22nd Street in Mountain View.
Yes, 1 block east of Swan.
Yes, and this morning I am drinking. Same thing every single week. I have a lavender oat milk latte. You are drinking
an yerba mate today. This is a natural energy drink, one that doesn't kill you when you drink it. So highly suggest.
That's helpful. I know, right?
Highly suggest taking the risk out of your energy drinking and grabbing these. So I love them because they're pretty tasty. They're not bad. They're not bad tasting. You don't buy them for the flavor. So let's throw that out there real quick. This one's carbonated. I love the carbonation. That's good. And it's instead of getting like, if I drink a Monster, sometimes I get like a hit of energy, and I'm like, boom, I'm ready to go. This is more of a light raising of energy, and I'm good to go. And then a slowing down of energy. There's no crash, so I like yerba mates.
And then what is?
Just a hot cappuccino. I'm a fan of any kind of espresso. It's my second. Should be like high tea considering that we're doing this at noon. But just straight, staying away from any kind of sweeteners right now. So, but yeah, just straight cappuccino, and life is good.
Perfect. Well, cheers, friends.
Oh, yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Happy Monday. Best way to start a Monday. Okay, perfect. Well, we are going to get started. We have some questions that we have prepared. Do you want to unlock your phone and get the timer going? Perfect. We practiced these last week. If you were here live, we kind of did a run through of the questions, and it went really well. So we're excited to share them with you. No pressure.
Oh,
no pressure. Perfect. Okay, so we have got our first question. Is going to be, tell us a little bit more about your product or service. I know we went over that, but
so I mean, I anything that has to do with digital marketing and even some print marketing, that's kind of my business. So what I really try to focus on is what's going to help this individual person. But really anything that's, websites, social media, videography. Like I actually have a sublet company, Only the Finest Media, which might have to get Alan to come out and promote that. But anything that has to do with, portraying a message. Some blog posts and at this point now I'm not much of a writer anymore. That's how I got my start. But at least I have somebody that I can refer all that stuff to. But just anything that has to do with portraying a message and making sure that not only the message is heard, but the message is succinct and that it reaches the people that you want to reach.
Perfect. All right. Perfect. And then, so what is your favorite service that you offer? What is something that
honestly I've become huge into videography and cinematography. Being able to produce, I've done some video production for some of my clients that originally brought me on as a copywriter. Right. But just the science behind it, the artistry behind it, utilizing different lenses and utilizing different pans, different gimbal moves. It's very fun. My background is actually in golf. Oh. And so it's kind of weird to be spending a lot of time either working on my game or working at golf courses and being very physically active, to being working at it from a desk and sitting at a desk 7 to 9 hours a day. Right. So being on set and creating video just gets me moving. Yeah. And it's a lot of fun.
My husband is a huge fan of golf as well. Did you watch, was it the Masters that was here this last week?
Oh, the PGA Championship?
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Fellow lefty. I love Phil Mickelson.
I am too. I'm a lefty as well.
I've been a huge fan of his for, I got involved in golf in, 99. He wasn't a big deal at that time. He was a popular player, but just hadn't reached that upper echelon yet. So that was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, it was. My husband enjoyed that. I don't watch golf or play, but he loves it, and it's a great sport, and I think it was interesting to watch the bits of it that I did see. But Phil did great. I kept asking him, is he done? Did he win? I was like, babe, we got one more hole. I'm like, all right. Because people kept following him, and I'm like, that means he won, right? He's like, not quite. Perfect. Okay, so let's start over our little. Okay, so Mike, tell us, what is your ideal customer?
Ideal customer is somebody that is very passionate about what they do. Somebody that has put in the time and wants to be able to take their service or their product and take it to market, and doesn't want to deal with the hassle of marketing, and so that they can focus on whatever it is, whether they're in real estate or they created like an app or some kind of product. Marketing is kind of it's its own monster, it's its own animal. So if you're not good at it, that's why I'm here to help and make sure that the right plan is in place, that who you're trying to reach. That's probably like the number one thing that I've seen that people don't usually get right, is that, I just want to reach everybody. It's like, if your product's for everybody, then it's probably, unless you want to compete with like the Targets and the Walmarts of the world, right, it's probably not going to work. Right. So somebody that understands who they are and what their product is and who they want and who they think will love using it, not just like it, not just be useful for them, but actually love it.
Right. I love that. And I like how you said, if you have a product for everybody, then really it's like you don't have a product for anybody. If it's for everybody, it's not going to be specialized to who you're reaching.
Yeah. And to give you a good example, like with what you've talked about just now about golf. Now your husband is involved in it, but if somebody were to ask you to start writing, golf related product reviews, could you do it?
No.
I mean, you probably could, but it would be the same, just to kind of bring it back, it would be the same thing as ask, we have this new product to help, children maximize, young children maximize their nap time. And we have this app, Mike, could you please write a product review? I don't know anything about children.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So could I do it? Could I, read 35 mom blogs and
figure it
put
out.
it together? Yeah. Is it going to be as good? No, but the passion won't be there.
Right.
And that's
Absolutely.
the key.
Absolutely. You have to be really passionate about your customer, about who you're trying to reach and what you're sharing. And I know I've tried writing posts that I was not 100% passionate about, and it dragged for me, and I wasn't able to give it what I usually do. So I kind of had to pivot what I was writing about. But any thoughts?
No, this is great stuff.
Awesome. Okay, so we want to ask about your business model next, but what was the second half of that question?
Right. Did I keep it open? Nope. So for business model, one thing. So do you know the lean business model?
Yes.
Lean canvas and the business model canvas, right?
Yeah.
So I developed my own business model as well, and in that, here's a question, and one of my goals when it comes to business is to make just people aware of concepts that are common, but not common to people, right? They're common in business, but not common for people who are in business. So what process will your enterprise use to exchange value with your customers? So what business model do you use in order to give your value to your customer and then receive compensation?
That's a good question. Probably the most important thing is, so kind of like the sub-layer to my business model is that my business is really based around, so the first part of it is that helping entrepreneurs and business owners and product developers find their fans, find their true fans. The second layer to that is I also want to, very much like the way you do, is help empower people to be their own, I hate the word be their own boss because it's kind of nuanced. It doesn't quite make sense to me. But essentially be able to take, well, the way I put it is that to take ownership of their financial future and to take ownership of what they do. Anyone that's worked for a business knows that there's usually, there's layers to it. There's layers to it, and even in like the world of like videography, for example, there are companies, and rightfully so, that a video that some hobbyist could do for $300, they're going to charge $1,200 for it. But they also have $3,000 camera bodies, $1,200 lenses. They've got rent, they've got overhead, and they still have to be able to make enough for themselves to be able to make a living. And so my goal is to not only provide value to my clients, but also provide value to others and inspire and empower others. It's like if you have something that you're really good at, especially in the realm of marketing, I don't have any employees, and I will never, and I'm going to say this again, but never have any employees, because I have people that I can refer. So graphic design, I'm fascinated by it. I don't want to spend the time to learn how to do it. I can do like super basic stuff, but other than that, I have a local professional that's all she does, and that's her specialty, and she's amazing at it. And so
you source out.
I source out, and I like acting as a conduit because I want people to know that if I can't do it, and there are a lot of things that I either can't do or won't do, I have people that are professionals that understand the mindset that comes with that. A lot of times with business, you learn that customer retention often it kind of trumps quality, and it trumps giving them what they really need. And so it's very tempting when you have a ton of overhead and employees to say, well, we really want you to have this product. Well, do you really want them to have that, or is it just so you can build them consistently? So like having like social media on like a 6-month drip. It's like, yeah, that might be useful, but is it more useful to them or is it more useful to you? So giving people what they need, and most importantly, explaining certain things that they may not. And actually, the day we met, there was like I had a couple glasses of wine, and so but I kind of made kind of an overarching statement because I could probably have an hour conversation about social media and its usefulness. But one thing I know that my experience working in real estate is that most people don't go onto their Instagram posts to try to do a financial transaction that's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
They want they want expertise to show up in another way. Whereas one lady that we met there that does pet photography, I'm sure you might have seen her.
I don't think I met her, but
But if for her, social media actually works, but it's a different nuance because the proof of concept, you can't. I'm sure did you buy a house here when you moved here?
Yes.
So it's not just you write a check for a down payment and then they give you the keys and then it's over.
No.
But you can't encapsulate a real estate transaction or anything worth thousands of dollars in a post or a video, because it's not only is it arduous, but it's really boring.
Right.
So that's kind of the point, and I probably got
No,
way
you're
over
good.
time.
You're good. You're good. I'm giving us more time. You're
Okay, but long story short, so the way that I guess what differentiates me in the marketplace is that I'm going to make sure that if there's something you need through me, that it's either going to come directly from me or it's going to come from somebody that I really trust that has demonstrated their expertise.
Right. Absolutely. That's perfect.
Yeah. So talking about, I think education is huge when it comes to your customer, and helping get them what they need, educating them on what it is they need and don't need and what exists, knowing what your customer thinks they need so that you can head that off in the beginning and say, you're probably thinking this, and they go, okay, cool. Also, that puts you as an expert as well, because you're like, oh, you're in their head. Like, yes, I was thinking that. So, and educating them like I do believe in, especially when building an app, the concept of the making it addictive so that people can come back on needs to go away. And I want to help them do something. If them being on every day helps them accomplish something, then yes. If not, then I don't want them to even have to think about it. So I think that's definitely a great way to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Perfect. Right. Look at us go. Killing it. All right. So our next question is, what is your unique value proposition?
So that's what separates you from everyone else out there who wants to learn how to tell their story, everyone else who wants to market, everyone else who wants to put themselves out there. Why come to you versus any other marketer?
I mean, the transparency is probably the most important thing that I can offer. Most importantly is that I've built my own business, and so I understand, depending on what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish, I've gone down that route. I've written, for a good example of that is kind of knowing what not to do. So I actually published a novel almost 4 years ago. It'll be 4 years in August. It's a golf-based novel. Yeah, I told you I was deep in the weeds when it came to writing. It's called it's based mostly in Casa Grande, but it's an Arizona-based novel. It's called Stitched. You can look it up. I'll send you guys a link to my author page, and you guys can check it out. Hopefully, we'll come out with my goal is to have a 5-year anniversary with like a really nice cover for hardback, limited edition. Because I'm still kind of, it's been out for 3 years. It's sold, but I'm still kind of making sure that people enjoy it. And from what I've seen so far, like Goodreads reviews and stuff like that, it's pretty good.
Awesome.
But the point of that is, so that when I published it and then I got some paperbacks, I went to the Mesa. They do a downtown art. What's the word? Like not really a farmer's market, but it's like an art market.
Okay.
Where they shut down a street there right by Jared's Coffee, and they have all kinds of different artisans and people to sell stuff. And so this was the first one. They usually run it from October to May, and so it was like October, the third week of October. And so I set up my my little setup, and I had basically just the 2 books that I had written there to sell, and an hour and a half in, there was a lot of people coming through back and forth, and then I kind of realized, halfway through, it's like, this probably wasn't a very good idea, because, and it's not to say that people wouldn't have been interested, but my audience is golfers and people who enjoy the game of golf and want to see basically a young kid, who, grew up, basically the story, the synopsis of the story is a kid that lived in a maintenance yard on a golf course in Casa Grande, a fictional golf course. But people that are interested in golf, they're not going to be at an arts fair on a perfect Saturday.
They're going to be
in
golfing.
October. They're going to be out on the golf course. So I completely missed that idea. So I understand what an audience, what does your audience do? Where are they looking? Where are they searching? What kind of pages are they following?
Right.
And then you want to craft your message around that. So I may not understand, so I don't necessarily have the understanding of what everyone's looking for, and I've made my mistakes, but I can at least help people understand, okay, who is your audience? And then let's see how we can craft your message to make sure that it catches their attention.
Right. And the only way to grow and get better is by making mistakes.
Yeah.
Lord knows I've made quite a few. But really finding your niche and who your ideal customer is really important to finding that. But I mean, you wouldn't have realized that if you had not gone to that fair.
Yeah. Which is going to be a big point of, because I know that we have an overall theme about this, and that's going to come into the kind of the theme of this podcast.
Yeah.
So we'll put a pin in that.
Okay, we're pinning it. We're putting a pin in. Any
Cool.
words?
Oh, let's roll on.
Awesome. Okay. So we kind of just went over this, but how did you decide who your audience would be? How did you go about, I want to write a book about golf, and
So that's a good question. So obviously I started playing golf. See, I'll make sure I get this correct. We're live. Oh wait, hold on.
You're fine.
So my story kind of starts with, golf was something that was introduced to me at a time when I needed something to kind of escape to. My mom was terminally ill with cancer, and so after she passed away, I was a month before I turned 14. She was 33, and so at a very young age, that part of my life is gone, and it like engrossed me. It encased my life, and so this kind of was the theme. Like I was the only thing I focused on. Was wanted to practice, wanted to play. It from the age of 14 to 19. Like that was it, and it ruined a lot of relationships. I could have gotten addicted to heroin, but I thought golf would have been a little more useful and productive because I knew everything, and I still kind of know a lot about it. And then my golf career, came to a halt. I injured myself in my very first professional event, and I'll show you the scar when we're done in a second. But essentially, by the time I was 25, my career was basically over.
Yeah.
And so after that, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with my life, so I ended up going to college.
Yeah.
So after a couple semesters, I kind of learned that I don't like bureaucracy, so that was kind of it for school. And then started, kind of getting back into golf and working at courses in Nevada, both mostly in Vegas. But I still, when I went to Reno, I spent some time practicing. And
Did you ever do Red Hawk golf course?
Never got to Red Hawk.
Okay.
No,
That's-
just
we
that
lived in
little,
that area.
just that one little like Washoe County course that's
Oh, okay.
like right there in the
Yeah.
heart of town. So then, finally I'm sitting at home in Vegas, just kind of stuck. And then I said, well, I know that I can write because I've had friends of mine tell me that I can do it. So like, what's a book that I would have loved to have when I was 19, basically messing up everything that I'd messed up from the time, with being out of shape and not, really putting the time into it, and kind of emphasizing stability, like with a job, versus, making enough to get by and really pour myself into it. So what would be, and so that's how I knew. So that's the first book I wrote. I literally fired it off in, I think 22 days. 14,000, which is 14,000 words is it's not a lot, but it's something. And the first draft of it was awful, but I mean, while the formatting, because it was weird, because like Kindle self-publishing, this was 2016, so it was still new to me. Like I didn't know anything about it, but I got it done. It was not ready for publishing, but I published it. It took like 3 or 4 more re-edits to finally get it. But that's the beauty about self-publishing is that if you notice something's wrong, you can just fix it and then upload it, and then within 24 hours you got a new draft and nobody's the wiser.
100%.
So it was really just scratching my own itch is kind of a word that gets thrown a lot amongst especially like popular famous bloggers like Tim Ferriss and Derek Sivers. Guys that built businesses or built themselves up with a specific niche, is that what did I want to have, and then the novel was more therapeutic for me. It was something that the story. Obviously, I never lived in the maintenance yard of a golf course, but you kind of when you're that young and you're basically a high school dropout and who ended up just getting his GED just because it was probably better to just have it, but to throw yourself into something and to feel alone, like that's kind of the thesis of the book, is that he's got this new family that comes that want to invite him in, but he doesn't want it, and so how do you open that up? So that was very therapeutic for me. So writing, I will have a sequel at some point, but I mean I'm so busy with all these other things now. And then my goal ultimately is to have this by the time I'm 40. So I just turned 36 2 weeks ago. Thank you. So my goal is to, by the time I'm 40, be able to hopefully turn my book into, at least have a pilot for like a Netflix series or something like that.
Well, I'll be watching
Nice.
it. I watch all the Netflix series. Okay, it's really an issue. It's a problem.
Okay, let's not laugh about that.
No, it's good. That's really exciting. That's really good for you for really just taking the plunge and really putting in the work and doing something that you're passionate about. That's really great. So so kind of going to the other side of things, do you have a revenue goal or rate of return?
No.
No.
I mean, as long as I can make enough to do what I love. Yeah. Like obviously more is at least to a point more is better. Right. But no, I just love as long as I can do it the way I want to do it. Right.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I pulled a few mindset questions. Okay. That's what we're here to talk about. What part of it? And I thought these would be really great. So.
Before we get to mindset questions, first question: what is success? So the name of the episode is mindset, confidence, and success. Yes. What's success to you?
So success to me, it really boils down to, peace and a feeling of self-worth is really what success feels like. Because you can't say, especially in the world that we have today, where people are celebrated almost, for being complete screw-ups. Like the whole reality TV, like it's kind of my generation. I was 6 years old when the first Real World came out, and then there was like nothing like reality television. What, are you stupid? Like that's not going to sell. And then it turns out that people really enjoy seeing people in their lowest light. Right. So are they successful monetarily? Yeah. But then you look at the suicide rates and everything else, and what's the point? What's the point of having it all if you can't appreciate who you are? Right. So yeah, just a feeling of self-worth and peace, and just contributing. Like that to me is being successful. Like you can have no money, and somebody like Bill Perkins, who wrote that book Die with Zero. Like he's fully intent on he's made hundreds of millions, and he doesn't want a penny left when he's gone, because that's not where he derives his worth from. Oh wow! So that's what was that called? It's called Die with Zero by Bill Perkins. Die with Zero.
Wow, that's so neat. Yeah, I mean, success can be how you impact people as well. Mm-hmm. I want to be able to be raw and honest with people, because when it comes to social media, all you see is pretty pictures. That's what is advertised. That's what's put out. But a lot, like a lot of the time people aren't showing what's really happening behind the scenes. And when people come to mine, I want them to feel like they belong, like they're welcome, because they don't feel like they are out of place. I mean, they can see, real life happening, and that's what I portray success as. Money's great, but if I'm not happy, if my family's not happy, then what is the point? That's a huge part for me. Okay.
Cool. I like Earl Nightingale's definition. It's success is the progressive, the constantly realizing a worthy ideal. But I forgot what the beginning part of it. But constantly progressing towards a worthy ideal, and that ideal you create yourself. So if it's a family goal, if it's a financial goal, if it's a health goal, if it's a championship goal, if it's a bucket list goal, a goal to one day jump out of a plane, or whatever it is, whatever that thing is you want to move towards, making yourself a better person every day, something smaller, like whatever it is that you choose to move towards as a goal that doesn't harm other people, and then you choosing every day to do that. That's a success. Like, isn't a thing that just is, but it's like my yesterday was successful. I only got 17% of the things I wanted to get done, but I definitely put most of my effort into like getting those things done. It just didn't happen. So that's a successful day for me.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I get everything done and I get more done than I wanted. Success. So yeah, that's how I view it. So cool.
Okay.
Cool.
Awesome. Okay, so my first question is, how would someone recognize what is slowing them down?
When something is both important and terrifying. When they're afraid, if it's something that they're afraid of, especially an entrepreneur, and being an entrepreneur, or even just like a freelancer or an artisan, if it scares you, then it's probably pretty important. And just developing the mindset of, the biggest thing that I've seen, and this, as you said, this is kind of delves into mindset, is that it's very easy to make a mountain out of a mountain, out of a mole, out of an anthill. I guess a mountain out of an anthill, just because of fear or anxiety, or what will people think of me if I accomplish this, or what, even worse, what will people think if I fail at this? And there's been such a negative connotation about failure. Now, is failure fun? No. It really sucks, and to have to stare at yourself in the mirror after putting, the last, 11 years of your life into, wanting to play a game for a living, and then you realize that it's not going to happen. That's hard, but most importantly, you learn that, there are such thing as sunk costs, and sometimes you put everything into something, and it doesn't work out. That doesn't mean you're a failure. That doesn't mean that it wasn't a worthwhile venture, because you're going to learn about stuff, and it will change you. The things that you pursue will change who you are. And so if there's something that's, look at the camera here. So if there's something that's slowing you down, I would say, double down on it. Like just like with the stock market, when people are afraid, that's when you want to be aggressive. And when people are aggressive, that's when you want to be cautious. So if it's something that you feel is slowing you down, double down and really pursue it, and don't let what Steven Pressfield will call the resistance, beat you down or keep you from doing what you feel is important to your life and to your confidence and mindset.
That's awesome. So what actions should they take to change that mindset?
So it's a good example, and I'll use the novel as a good example. So when you're looking at 1,000-word blog posts, that's nothing. But when you're looking at a manuscript, that's something that could my novel clocked in at like 56,000 words, and it's still small. Like when you compare that to what's a good example, like the Harry Potter series. Like each of those books are like 300,000 to 400,000.
War and Peace. How many words is that?
Or like my wife is big in those in like the Outlander series. Like she handed me one of these. And I'm honestly humbled by it, because I felt like I put a lot of work into mine, and this is a book that's 3 times the size. So it's real easy if you feel like you have a book that you want to work on to just get bogged down in the details of like how. So what I did is I took a trick from my college professor, from my writing 101 class, where literally outline it. So and the outline is nothing more than your topic sentence and like two supporting bullet points of what the chapter is going to be about, and then you just break it down into these small little chunks. And then by the time you do that, now that doesn't mean that when I finish mine, the story is probably the final product is probably 70 to 75% of it. But as you know, as a writer, a lot of the first draft, you're just trying to get your ideas down, and then you start to polish and you polish and you polish and you polish. So just break it down into the smallest steps you can. If you're trying to, what's a good example? What's like a common, so let's say you're trying to develop an app or something. Programming is a giant pain. I tried it. I went to actually the college in Southern Nevada for it. I lasted 3 weeks. First program I had to do, I had to be able to program the quadratic equation in Python, and I was like, nope.
I'm out.
I know, and I'm not a slouch at math either. So the math part was fine. It was being able to program in a language. Just I lost it, and I was like, nope, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
And so so that would be the number one thing, is just to if it's something that's a huge obstacle or feels like a huge obstacle, just start taking the steps, write them down. Figure out, okay, well, what can I do today that will get me one step closer? And it might take a while, but that's it. Just break it in the smallest, kind of. I'm a big SpongeBob. So when Patrick wants to win an award, it's like the smallest you can think of.
Or like how they always say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. It's really easy to get overwhelmed by something that's huge that you want to accomplish, but when you reverse engineer it and take it back step by step to the smallest part that you can, you'd be amazed at what you can accomplish.
And then like just one kind of subset of that is, friends of mine that have talked about, writing a book. They're like, well, I want it to be big, and this, I'm gonna look at the camera for this one. So it's not up to you if a story or a book or a product is popular. It's up to the market, it's up to the readers. So all you can control is how good it is and the quality, and if it speaks to a certain audience. So just focus on that. Don't worry about publicists or any of that other stuff. It doesn't matter. It's the best product you can create.
I love that. That is perfect, and we are right at the ending for that. So good.
Right.
Look at you. It's like you know. Okay, perfect. So how would someone ensure that they follow through with whatever they are trying to accomplish?
So everything I just said, now we're going to go to the opposite side of it. So for example, a good example is actually on Thursday. I just got my Part 107 license to fly drones commercially.
Oh, cool. That's amazing.
So it was something I was thinking about, and it was the same thing. Like, you realize that, it seems simple. Like, people fly drones all the time, and just for fun. And then you look at it from the FAA standpoint, and it's like, oh, like there's some real dangers with this, and there's some things that can cause lives potentially. And so you start looking at the stuff, and a lot of it just like, can you understand the language that the FAA uses so to ensure that you don't crash a drone into a plane or a helicopter, or you don't cause damage or hurt other people. That's really what the test boils down to. And so I finally said, like, well, I need to get this done because I keep looking at it and it looks so just the opposite of breaking down into small pieces. The other thing that will really help is very strict deadlines. And so and having skin in the game, which is another important topic to have. So before I even felt like I was ready to take the test, I booked and I paid for the appointment. So now I have something on the line here.
Right.
Now there's something, I have the potential of losing $109 if I don't follow through.
Right.
So you get when you have something to lose, like, you get really honed in on what you have to do to get it done. So having that pressure, having something to to really make you focus and hone in on what's important.
Right.
And get it done, at least that first draft. And then once you get that done, then you'll realize, oh, this isn't such a big deal after all. And then you can go into the refinement process.
That's amazing.
And not just talking about writing, for whatever your project is, whether it's music, whether it's a movie, whether it's a product that you're making, whatever it is.
Yeah. Just get to the finish line, whatever it is. I mean, there are caveats to that, obviously. You know, there are certain things that I, like programming. Like, I thought that I could at least do that because for some reason marketing never entered my head, but programming was something like I can do it from home. I can really focus in on it. But then I realized that it's just so kind of knowing when to quit on things that you're not passionate about, and you'll know pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're not, like, I learned, like, I'm not passionate about programming, and there are plenty of people that are willing to do it happily.
Yeah.
And so that's it. So, but if it's something that you really feel passionate about, that you wake up about thinking about, that you go to sleep thinking about, like, there's a strong, possibility that you really love this. And so just get to the finish line. If it's garbage, figure out what you did wrong. If it's not, then take it from there.
I absolutely have discovered that I am not passionate about cleaning my house, so I just don't do it. Just kidding. But really, I knew right away that I was not passionate about that.
And some people are. Like, I have.
Oh my mother-in-law loves to clean. Like, and when she comes to visit, I'm like, you just do you.
Marie Kondo.
Step back. Yeah.
I mean, I love organizing.
Yeah, me too.
So I walk into a place where things are already there. I can make it better. I can make it look good. I can do that.
Yeah.
As far as putting the things there and making it look good or designing things, that I can't do. But I can go into, and that's why I love business so much, because it's like the same thing. I can go into a business with processes and make processes that already exist better.
Yeah.
Like whatever your product is or service, that's your thing. You make the clothes good. You know, I can connect you to your customer and make sure you're communicating with your team better. Just things that are more general to all businesses.
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely. That's funny. Yeah, you definitely find out right away. You know, and funny about organizing is I love to organize our home. Our home is organized. I have small children, so it is not clean all the time, but it is organized. But you put me in someone else's house to organize something, and I don't like to do it. I don't like to do it. My mom's house, on the other hand, I love to, because she just lets me go crazy. But I for the longest time wanted to go organize people's homes, and I started doing it, and I'm like, I'm miserable. This is not what I want to do. I want to write about organizing. I don't want to actually do it. So
there you go.
That's interesting, because that when my first business out of the Air Force was a social media marketing agency. So after having multiple clients and then constantly meeting with new people, like the free consultation is you're just constantly learning about people's business to give them information. And as I got further along with businesses, as months are going through, there's so much research, there's so much you have to invest in understanding whatever the specific business is. And then for the pre-work before meeting a business, there's just so much that you have to do. And I'm looking at so many different businesses. I was like, I'm not, for the ones that continue, there were some that I really, really love that are exciting. For the ones that I continued, though, wasn't passionate about their business. I also wasn't passionate about social media marketing. Like, I didn't really like doing that, and I didn't like that I had to learn so much about things I didn't really like in order to do that well. So that's when I wound up dropping that and doing the networking. How do I I'm always connecting people to people, because I know so many business owners, because my customers are business owners, and I went ham on customers, 10x, do the most every day. So I know all these people in the city who are business owners. I'm very passionate about that, very passionate about learning their business. I love learning their businesses. This podcast is one of those things. We love talking to people, we love talking about Tucson, all that. So this just fits into that little niche, and we can continue doing this.
Absolutely. Okay, so our last question for you is, why do people tend to not act on the things that they know will bring them success?
It really kind of.
Last question, make it a good one.
I mean, it really kind of this overall theme of just having that fear, having that apprehension. There's a lot that comes along with it. I can say from personal experience that people will treat you differently, and you'll not only that, but you will know who's like really in your corner and who isn't the moment that you actually start gaining some clout or gaining some recognition for your work and service. It's just the way it goes. It's the way it is. So I think it really just boils down to fear of who you might become, fear of
what other people think.
Yeah, and people, and it's not even so much about failure. I don't. At least I haven't seen, because most people, most of the time, like, you're going to fail. Like, that's just the idea behind it. Like, the film industry is rattled with projects that don't fail, but they're able to keep up. They're able to keep in production. They're able to keep in business because of those 2 or 3 or 4 different concepts that they know. Like, if you make a Marvel movie, you're gonna generate $1 billion. That's just it.
Yes.
So you get a chance to learn. Okay, this is the formula, but we still have audiences to cater to. So you can actually take other shots at different movies, and sometimes, so like it's weird how things have kind of divided in that. So you have like the guaranteed blockbusters, and then you have these small indies that just latch onto an audience, and the next thing you know, they've 10x their budget just from the fact that they found an audience that liked what they had to do. So yeah, so I would say that more than anything, it's a practice, and just you have to. It's something that you cannot let go of. You have to just stay diligent, even if it's just 30 minutes a day. Like 30 minutes a day, I'm going to focus on this. And then I'm going to go back and enjoy life. Yeah. And if you're afraid of it, that means even more so that you should do it.
Absolutely. And sometimes you can think that you're wanting to do something, and then you have to take a step back and pivot what you were originally going to do to really excel.
Yeah, exactly. No, well, yeah. So like, I didn't set out to. So like, when I kind of fell into this career, like I really did. So at the time when I really started to write, after I wrote my book, was almost just kind of like my CV to show that I could do it, that I actually could put sentences together in a paragraph and all that. And then so I started getting freelance work for golf websites, mostly just like affiliate marketing. So I know you're familiar. I've seen your blog, so I know you're familiar with it.
Yes.
Go to her site, by the way. 'Cause they get commissions every time you buy a product from a link that you click on.
Yes,
so go
it's
to her.
true.
Yeah. If for no other reason, you don't need a diaper genie. Just somebody that does. KelseyFarley.com. Yeah. So I was doing a lot of that, and then it just so happened that a client of mine, they needed somebody that knew the Valley, when I was living in Phoenix at the time, and that one interaction that was almost 3 years ago, it opened up all these other doors, and I realized, wow, like I actually like doing a lot of the stuff that just just the art of and the process of like creating copy for something, and telling a story. I'm not just a one-trick pony when it comes to writing, focusing on golf. Like I actually have these other things. Like, okay, then I got into that, and I was like, and then just kind of meeting those needs. My best friend has a degree in cinematography, and that kind of piqued my interest. So then I started learning, and I basically spent almost a year of just like researching YouTube videos. Very important. And that's kind of like the number. And just to kind of touch back on that, to kind of bring it back into there, is that there's in today's age, what we have compared to where you can actually have like a $30 smartphone that at least has access to YouTube and all that stuff. Like there are no bounds to what you can learn and what you can achieve, especially when you have service, especially on YouTube, where you can learn anything you want for free, basically.
Yes.
You just need a Wi-Fi connection and a phone and just some avenue to retrieve it. Get yourself a $120 laptop and just watch stuff. And, a lot of what I've learned, aside from, I've never, copywriting is not something I ever learned from, but there's really no excuse. If you have something that you want to do, it boils down to practice and execution. And
Absolutely.
That's it.
Absolutely. I love that. Well, one question we like to ask our guests is, what books are you reading?
So, the book that I just read that applies to all businesses, especially if you're an entrepreneur on your own, is The 7 Levels of Communication. I ripped through that in a day. It's a short read. I think it's only like 180 pages. But it's what I like about it though is that it's not a, because I enjoy books that kind of get into the story, get into like just the point where it's like, do this, don't do this, here's why you should do this. It's a narrative. Mm-hmm. It's a narrative about a salesman who has, who in a tough market has seen his sales dwindle and he's not getting anything. So then you learn about something that I think you would especially like it because it talks about the power of referrals and, being part of the networking world and becoming a networker as opposed to just a salesperson. Mm-hmm. So that book is what I'm reading now.
7 Levels of Communication.
Yes.
Awesome.
So it's basically, using leads through referrals.
I love that.
And really understanding like what people want to know and like how you can stand out and especially in competitive industries, mm-hmm. how can you stand out? What touches can you provide to people that let them know that you actually care about them and you're not just trying to make a sale. Other books, I've been doing a lot of audiobooks. I just actually listened to Kelly Carlin's audiobook about her dad. Okay. George Carlin, I don't know if so his daughter wrote a book about 5-6 years ago, and you kind of learn about him. I have his autobiography, and I've read it a couple times. So other than that, I wish I was reading more. I have a lot of books now. As far as books that I can suggest for people that are kind of, for creatives, if you're struggling with, the mindset of, because contrary to popular belief, creatives are not just, sitting there, staring outside the window and just having inspiration come to them. It's dug from the dirt. Mm-hmm. So the War of Art by Steven Pressfield.
The War of Art
by Steven Pressfield. Probably the most important book that anyone who's taking on any kind of entrepreneurial, you'll kind of learn about that. So when people feel like they get that anxiousness, that pit in their stomach, mm-hmm. and feel like they're on the road to self-sabotage anytime mm-hmm. they're trying to get to the finish line, yes. That's the book that you want to read. Okay. Then for marketing, kind of what I've built. Seth Godin is kind of considered like the godfather of direct marketing. So This Is Marketing, which just came out earlier, like late last year, by Seth Godin. Honestly, just follow his blog. Mm-hmm. Seth, so SETHS .blog. It's always very short, and it's just it talks about culture and the market and just anything else that is really interesting to him.
Very short, as in like a paragraph.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah. Oh my gosh, SEO would yell at me if I tried to write only one paragraph. It would have my head.
But I think that should keep people pretty busy.
Cool. Well, that's going to keep me busy because I'm very excited to read and check out all those. I'm always looking for new books just to give myself something to do. It's just, I love hearing new books.
Or you can read mine too.
Oh yes.
Yeah, what was the?
What are the names?
One was Stitch.
Yeah. The other one I wouldn't bother. It's just it's like unless you like have a passion for playing golf professionally, it's.
We're gonna have this. Will have probably 100
links,
viewers in like a couple days. So one of them is passionate about golf.
Yes.
Okay, so it's a professional golf for the rest of us. Honestly, if you just go to Amazon.com/author/Mike Guillen, MikeGuillen, that'll bring up my author page. You'll see I have 3 like very short ebooks that are like 3 or 4 to 5 pages long, and then I have Professional Golf for the rest of us, and then I have Stitched. Awesome. So let me know and just reach out. I'm sure you'll have links to how people can reach me. Absolutely. If you do read the novel, I'm genuinely curious to know what you think of it.
Okay. Right on. Well, perfect. So where can we find you, Mike Guillen?
So
besides out on the golf course.
You gotta change it from Michael to Mike, by the way.
It's fine. I go by both. Like I just.
I said Mike. Why did you put Michael? I said Mike.
It's all good.
You did? Yes. My bad. Okay.
It's all good. It's all good. It's not gonna bother me.
My husband. He doesn't listen to me either.
Male, female.
Okay, where can we find you?
You can find online truefanmarketing.com. You can reach out to me. I mean, True Fan Marketing is where you can find a lot. If you want to follow my journey with golf, and which is mostly like my golf Instagram page is mostly just consists of pictures of my dogs.
So if you like dogs.
Yes. Hey.
But that's Instagram handle is the golf author. If you want to find, I'm not very active on like I have like one video for my Facebook page, but facebook.com/truefanmarketing. There will be more now. Now that I've got my my Part 107 and we'll be able to fly drones, I'll
That's
get some
great.
other videos, and then or you can find me at mike@truefanmarketing.com. Drop me a line, say hi, and just let me know what you think. And if you need any services, if I can't provide it, then I know somebody who will.
Perfect.
So I have two more questions for you.
Okay.
Oh.
The first, what is your primary marketing outlet for True Fan Marketing?
So like how do I reach mine?
Yes.
So I think it's mostly just referrals. I was able to, and that kind of goes into the True Fans part of it. So, I said 1,000 true fans is what the basis of that podcast, but I mean, I'm able to make a full-time living. At any point, I may have no more than 5 or 6 clients. It's just a matter of, Upwork was a big part of me. So if you have a service to provide to somebody and you're not really bound, Tucson is really not quite getting there yet, which is a shame, as far as finding freelancers and using that as an outlet. But yeah, so just anything where you can showcase your work. Upwork, I'm a huge fan of. Don't complain about the 20% that they take for for the fee. Like I know it's awful, but think of it as like your platform. Think of it as your resume. And if you can show that you've got 5-star reviews and you can actually do what people want, there is a huge market for just people that do what they say they can do and will do it when they say they will do it. So if you have those traits, Upwork, any kind of Fiverr. I don't use Fiverr. There's I could take forever why I don't use it. But yeah, so word of mouth and Upwork have been my 2 biggest ways of finding business.
Perfect.
All right. And next, what is your ideal way of finding business? If there was just one way that people came to you, what would it be?
Referrals, 100% referrals.
Okay.
And there's a it looks like it's red there, so we're good.
We're good.
Okay, but and there's a good reason why. So especially when it comes to like online digital marketing, there are people that are I have clients, for example, that are competing in the online workspace, and it is very expensive. It is very time consuming, and you really you need like a whole other set of skills just to be, even with like ads, for example. You need a full skill set, and you need a lot of money behind you in order to gain enough attention and to outrank the competition. If you're trying to do SEO, my blessings to you, but once again, very labor intensive, very expensive, and a lot of times you have to put in a ton of work. It's not free. It's not just you have the best coffee shop, for example. Now that's from a broad spectrum. Now the way that it can work though is like, for example, we're at Big Heart Coffee. You're driving down, maybe you're leaving Reed Park Zoo and you want to find some coffee, and you can type that in. So from a local standpoint, it works. However, I've been fortunate enough to meet a lot of people, through, golf has given me basically everything. And so I guess that would be the one thing that I would say, the reason why it's referrals is that, because of my interactions with people through golf, whether it's through my writing or just through my portfolio on Upwork, and just the work I've done and the people that I've met and I've known, through just from being a local. I had a great thought, and well, let me see if I can recapture this real quick. So you go through all that. Is that nothing will sell you better than somebody telling somebody that they trust, that guy's really good, that girl's really good, that girl knows what she's doing.
Absolutely.
I've used this person's services before and they're excellent. Very rarely does anyone just buy a product, and that goes up exponentially when you think about the cost of something. Somebody's gonna, the worst thing that anybody could do is if they're gonna buy if they were to click on, a link, for example, from kelseyfarley.com, is to say that they bought the product and it's not what they wanted, and
Right.
they, not only are they going to feel betrayed, they're going to feel stupid for
Yes.
spending a lot of money on something that they didn't want.
Right.
So trust is everything. Trust is
Absolutely.
the most important currency that you could ever build up, to have success, and to be confident that not only that you know what you're doing, but that you're going to do right by the people that you intend to serve.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to end on that note. Thank you, Tucson. We'll see you next week.
Good
Later.
Okay, do you want to keep talking?
59:58.
I was hoping we'd be
Good
able
job.
to sign
Yes.
off on Anchor, not just mid-sentence. But
I know,
that's
that's
perfect.
okay. That's
No,
okay.
that you did. That was it. That was done.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think that was great. The trust was a great way to